Hello, my name is John Brink, and we are on the Brink podcasting from Prince George, British Columbia. And for all those guests around the world that are watching us, Prince George is the capital of northern BC, about 800 kilometers north of Vancouver, the absolute most beautiful place in the world. You must come and visit us. And today's a special day. A friend of mine, Wesley Mitchell, is our guest. Wes.
Oh,
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, good afternoon, John, and it's an honor to be here on the Lheidli territory in Park House at your establishment here. It's a beautiful afternoon.
Yes, and so I want you to talk about, you are a very interesting person for many reasons, and we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. I've known you for a number of years already, and so you are from the Wet'suwet'en First Nations.
Correct.
And where is the Wet'suwet'en Nations again?
Wet'suwet'en, well, my home base would be Whitsett, BC, between there and Smithers, BC, but it covers from pretty much Burns Lake, just past Whitsett, and all around the Houston area. It's quite a wide territory.
Right.
So there's a lot of beautiful landscape. And
so that's where you grew up?
I grew up in Smithers till I was about 8 years old. We moved here, Prince George, in 1986.
So you moved here to Prince George, and tell us a little bit more about your background. So you moved to Prince George.
Yeah. So in '86 we left Smithers with my stepfather Terrence Ferguson, and we ended up traveling with a 25-foot trailer all the way to Hamilton, Ontario.
Oh my!
He was a truck driver. We stopped all the way, many places. We have family out in Ontario. We stayed there for about a month, and he just couldn't find the position he wanted as a Class 1 driver. And we slowly made our way back to Prince George. We stopped in Thunder Bay. We pretty much almost set base there. My mom was working at a heritage history place there, and then just one day, a week into us living there and just about renting a place, he says, "Well, no, this isn't good," and we ended up driving to Kamloops, and then from Kamloops up to Prince George. So we took the long way from Smithers to Prince George, and it was an amazing journey. Like me, my brother, my older brother Rick, and my mother, and then my stepfather Terry, who was an amazing man.
Now, somehow you also have a Dutch connection of some sort, right?
That's my mother. She's 100% Dutch. Yeah.
And she was born in Holland?
She was born in New Westminster.
New Westminster, but her parents were from Holland originally?
George and Tina DeWitt, George is from Northern Holland, and Tina from Southern.
You don't get much more Dutch than DeWitt.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very interesting. And, that I always found that interesting if I talked to you, because we talked about your heritage in terms of your mom in particular being her parents growing up in, or she also growing up in a Dutch environment, right? Yeah. So so that was very interesting. And so tell us a little bit more about your past when you were young, and you had a challenging background in many ways, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
The early childhood, for sure, leading up to '86 was, my mother, a single mother with 2 kids. She worked 3 jobs in Smithers, waitressing, and having to get a sitter for me and my brother. It was, there was a lot of, I'll just be straight up, a lot of, my father wasn't around. He was dealing with whatever demons he had. He liked to party. There was domestic violence within our house, and that's when my stepfather Terrence Ferguson came into our lives, and there just wasn't anything going on good in Smithers, that family-wise or work-wise. So that's when he said he's leaving, and my mom said okay. He gave her the options with me and my brother Rick to go with him, and she right away said yes, let's go. Let's start a new journey and a new chapter in our life, and. To this day, he helped us. He helped us, in a bad situation where baseball games for my father and partying and being with his friends, mostly out what was called Morristown.
That was your stepfather.
My father, Clement Mitchell.
Yeah.
He's my biological father. That's my indigenous heritage to Wet'suwet'en. He's Gidimt'en, and my mom was the Dutch.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and to fast forward quickly, I understand why he was the way he was at a young age now, and a lot of that, played a lot into, me not feeling, just not having the culture in my life and not having my father in my life was a big black hole. But my mother was very sturdy, and my stepfather was amazing, and we ended up here in Prince George in '86, and life was good from there. For quite a few years, I lived in Prince George, played hockey, played lacrosse, played baseball. He supplied for me. He worked 16 hours a day for Trimac, and my mom went to school and became a teacher at an SD school district 57.
Are they still in Prince George?
My mom is. He actually unfortunately passed away on Connaught Hill in 1998 in a car accident, single vehicle car accident. And,
Now Morristown, what is your connection to Morristown?
That would be my Mitchell family. I'm connected to the Mitchells and the Morrises, and they're my cousins, and that's where my father is from. He's Giddimden, which is Grizzly and Wolf clan, and my grandmother is Hazel Mitchell and Donald Mitchell, and they're residential school survivors. Well, they're passed on now, but they went through the systems, right? And that's why I kind of know what my father had a rough upbringing too, right? From that.
I remember, I spent quite a bit of time from time to time in Morristown because, we have a lumber company in Houston, and I've done some work with the Morristown band in regards to interaction between their operations and ours. And then I got to know them well in terms of the things they were trying to accomplish. In the mid-90s, they built a plant there, a remanufacturing plant.
Kyawood,
Kyawood.
Kyawood, yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately it doesn't operate anymore now, but the building is still there. So I know them well, and I know the people in the band, at that time, and from time to time, even now, we still do some work with them.
Yeah, they've turned that into a waste sanitation or recycle place right now. I know that, but I worked at Kyawood for a few years, and
at the finger joining plant.
Yes, but I worked more so in where the off the green chain. And my dad was a lead. That's when I got to go back to Smithers, and I stayed with my dad, and he brought me into Kyawood. He was a lead hand there, and we spent some good time together later on in life, right? In my 20s.
And then you had, that we all do in a way. You had a few challenges here and there as well.
You mean just kind of like with battling demons as well, in a way? Yeah, definitely. I've had, throughout my, from 20 till 40, I could rise and I could fall. I would rise and I'd fall. And what I mean by fall is I would pick up a drink and I'd just make some bad decisions, and my behaviors changed, and that led into opening doors to many types of drugs, hard drugs, and I couldn't close those doors, and with the black hole already in me, with some early trauma, childhood trauma, and just
PTSD, right?
Yeah, and intergenerational trauma. At that time, I didn't know, right?
Yeah.
And alcohol is the devil for Indigenous people in many ways. And I don't want to preach, because a lot of people can function and do what they do on it. But just for myself, I can speak for myself, and what I've seen through my family genes is alcohol is a very bad poison for our people and my family.
It's so important, I always believe, Wes, and we are friends as well, that you can talk about it as you do, because there are a lot of people that are struggling with that even today as we speak, and for them to see a person like you that has gone through that, and then from your age, from 20 to 40, struggling with it in very challenging periods, and then come through it, and then obviously be the success that you are today, at least in my opinion and the opinion of many, many others. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but all the things that you have done and still doing on a day-to-day basis is amazing. But I want to know from you is that, how far did you go before you hit bottom and had to make a decision that if I don't stop, I'm not going to live?
I was a slow learner that way, and I had to, when you say hit bottom, for me, with my rising and falling, when I would fall and hit bottom, there was almost no bottom for me. I'd just keep scratching at the bottom, right? And that's how powerful, cunning, and baffling the disease was for me. And, I ended up, on the streets of many cities, here in Prince George, back at home in Smithers, down in Surrey, Vancouver, East Hastings, Calgary, Edmonton, all these rises. And you say, and I'm thankful for you saying, and a lot of people at those times said the potential I had, and I could, I would get clean, and I'd start rising, but I never got. It was that first drink I would take. Like all of a sudden, I'd be at a function and have a drink, and it just got worse as life went on, and as I progressed, and it got worse, and I couldn't get straight, clean time, and I just didn't understand that it was that first drink that got me every time, right? And it would lead to me walking on the streets.
So what then created the turnaround for you in terms of saying, I got to stop and then move a different direction?
Well, many of the times before, it was either like a beautiful girlfriend of mine, like her, she'd help me for 7 years. That would help me clean up and then go to like a detox and then a treatment center. And I did that many times, I think 10 times in total, but she persisted on helping me. And then when that relationship ended, my mother would help me. And these people would keep helping me, but in a way, it just, in the end, it wasn't me doing it. Exactly.
It has to come from you.
Had to come from me.
Yeah.
As much love and tough love and whatever kind of love that was given to me, I couldn't do it until, like you said, when I hit all these finished bottoms and so much pain, so much, just everything was just not functioning right when I knew that it was bad for me. I finally, down in East Hastings, I remember the day I was outside Metrotown in Vancouver, and it's just something hit me. And it was all the rises and falls. All these things did matter. All these people helping me in the end did help.
And now you were 40?
Yeah, and that's when I was 40, when I had that slap in the face, and it was the Creator. Today, I know, I believe in the Creator. I believe in all the days that led up and all the up rises and falls that He was with me, right? And you have a conscience, and you always feel like somebody, that voice is talking to you, or just voice of reason is what it could be. And today I realize it's the Creator that directed me many times. And that day, it took me 3 days to get back home up here.
So that happened, and the east side of Vancouver has known for that. A lot of people that are really, really struggling, they end up on the east side, and it's pretty much as bad as you can get it, right, down there.
And when I was down there, being an Indigenous man, I was amongst some of my cousins that I didn't even know were down there, living in the back alleys. One of them just passed away 6 months ago. Rest in peace, Melissa Tom. But it was 80 to 90% Aboriginal people, First Nations people down there, right? And when you're down there, it becomes a culture, and you become comfortable. Yeah. It just becomes comfortable. There's people you trust and people you don't trust, and it's crazy. It's Russian roulette in a sense, and it's a crazy lifestyle, right? But many people live it each and every day, and when you get into that, I'd say a groove, and I mean that in the most humble way, and get into that groove and that culture and that way of life, in a sense, it becomes comfortable, right? And it becomes normal. And it's horrible because it's not good.
So now what happened is they say, stop.
Yeah.
You said, right?
Just,
And now you have that power to know that you cannot go no further because it's going to end up, you won't be there anymore. So you have to make a decision. Yeah. And so, and you were saying you knew you had to go back home, if you wish, to this region. So that's what you did then?
And just to quickly go back, you get comfortable, you get in that culture, but you're always watching your back. You're always watching your back. And I got sick and tired of watching my back. The people that I did trust would always F you over. I won't swear on yours, but they would F you over, and then you're right back to by yourself, alone. Yeah. Many different thoughts go through your head. Like it can go from suicide to homicide in some senses, right? And
Exactly,
that's the level and degree of the mentality you get in. So too much of that, I just had so much of that pain, so much of being used and abused. Couldn't trust any of the people that lived down there. Couldn't trust, there was gang relations down there, and I couldn't trust the RCMP because they were doing, there was no one to trust, right?
Yeah.
And I had enough, and it was in September of 2017, I had enough, and that was when I was outside Metrotown.
So now we're in 2017, September.
Yeah.
And you decided you have to go back home.
Yeah.
And so what happened then?
Well, I remember I called my mom, and my mom's my savior. She's always my go-to. She's my anchor. She's my guardian, on Earth Angel. And I said, Mom, I want to come home. And she, she didn't believe me. How many times, many times many addicts have doing that. And there's thousands of moms out there that know this story, right? And or even hundreds, or even more, I should say. But she's like, okay, you come home, Wes, you come home. And it took me 3 days. I used online Facebook to reach out to people asking for gas money to get back, because I still had a car. I lived in the car and hoarded and had stuff in it. But there was two girls, two beautiful women that sent me, one sent me $30 when I was in Chilliwack to put in my gas tank. And this time I was serious. I meant to come back. And I got from Chilliwack to 100 Mile House. And then I got to 100 Mile House and used social media again to reach out, and another e-transfer of $30 from another beautiful woman up here that they just gave me the $30, and I wasn't looking healthy, and I knew what I was up to, but it got me back to Quesnel. Called my mom, stayed the night in Quesnel with a girl that I went down there with and came back with, and she was, unhealthy, but she helped me get back and forth and supported me as well. But anyways, got to Quesnel, and my mom's like, oh, you're in Quesnel, so she sent me enough money to get back home. I again stayed at her house for about 3 days on the couch downstairs, slept, called detox every day, and got into detox. And I've been to detox before, and I know how to utilize the beautiful healthcare workers that are there. I adore them. I love them all. In
Quesnel, right?
No, in PG detox. I got from Quesnel that next day to PG. Stayed at my mom's house for 3 days. You have to call detox every day to get a bed. Got into there, and from there I knew the resources to use, to get into a treatment center and to continue on a journey of getting clean and sober, right? And I did get into a place called Wilpsaset, and I was back. I was there before in 2013, but they had a men's trauma, 8 weeks men's trauma coming up, and I knew the staff there, and they knew I was sick, and they kind of followed me online. And I use it online for a lot of the bad days, but I've used it for a lot of good too now, right? And people help, and people watch, and people learn, and so they accepted me into the 8 weeks men's trauma. And that's what another difference maker was, is I went to a place where it was just men. Yeah. It wasn't co-ed. There was no distractions of say the opposite sex or anything that would distract you. And I got hardcore down into here. And Wilpsaset is in Kitwanga, which is right by the Gitxsan Nation, which is beside Witsat, and they knew about my culture. So that's when a whole bunch of learning about residential schools, 60 Scoop, learning about why my family tree on that side was that way, or why what happened, and why that, I like to call it the black hole, was within me that I tried to feed with drugs and alcohol, right? So it was amazing. The Creator led me back there, and I continued. The very first day I got to Wilpsaset, I said, I need to be here longer. What are your next courses? And they said, slow down, one day at a time.
So what did they do then there? Did they talk about the past and so that you could deal with that black hole, the lack of clarity a lot of times, the lack of why and how, and you work your way through all of that?
Yeah, they bring in elders. Two beautiful elders, Gary Patsy's one from the Gitxsan Nation, Ed Harris, plus the counselors. Robert Ryan just came there from here. These are men that had the knowledge, and some of them had been, I think, had gone through the same traumas, right? So they shared about 60 Scoop in general. Residential schools, 60 Scoop, told the stories, which kind of explained why my grandparents weren't around. Like my grandma Hazel Mitchell, she died in the hospital here in Prince George of cirrhosis of the liver, and my grandfather Donald Mitchell, they both went to LeJac, one as a cook and one as a student. The cook was my grandma Hazel, and the student was Donald, but he ended up getting out and ended up in Riverview down in Vancouver because of all the traumas that happened to them. So they couldn't be that family for my father. So and whatever happened when they were all together was pretty rough lifestyle as well, right? And I don't know the just, but I know my father went through probably a lot, and I couldn't at a younger age be the father that I needed, and the spouse to my mom at that time. So that never worked out, but today he's in Morristown with a bunch of brothers and sisters of mine doing well, and redemption, and he's a good man over there, and it just wasn't part of my life, and that was hurtful because we are like splitting images of each other. We look like each other, we talk, and there's a lot of familiars that weren't there for me growing up. Yeah. But thanks to the Creator, I have Terry Ferguson, but he passed on, and then Donald Miller, who has raised me. But going back to the treatment center, they taught me about that lineage and what happened. At that time, I thought I was Gidim, which is a different clan. I had no clue about my identity from the Indigenous side. Yeah. Of course, my mom and the Dutch side that I grew up with were beautiful and caring and loving, but I just didn't have that piece for me on the other side, and that's
you had to have that to reconcile, right? Say, who am I, and why did all these things happen in a certain way, and how do you put it all into place so that you then have the foundation from which you go forward, right?
Instead of wondering why. There's no real answers, and there's no quick remedy, but there's just a knowledge, an awareness now that this is why this happened. Now I can sit there and stop fixating on that and work on this person.
That's the key for you.
On this person,
What happened then? Now we're in 2017, 2018 maybe, and now Wes is in Prince George. You are sober, and how did you go forward from that point forward?
Well, I ended up doing 3 stints there and came back in January of 2018. Yeah. I didn't have anywhere to live, so I stayed with my stepfather, Donald, and my mother again, Kathy, and started going to 12-step meetings. I went to 12-step meetings, and that's helped me throughout the years. Yeah. Huge, because that helps you work on you. Find a creator, clean house, and help others. Yeah. And then, so I just, all of a sudden my job was going to come back in Mackenzie, and that's where I was before. I had a relapse and ended up down in East Hastings, was in Mackenzie driving Class 1 truck for Chucho. Okay. And I was on my way back up there to start dewatering. And one of the girls that sent me the $30, her name's Sarah, she's a nurse, sent me the $30, says there's a job downtown right now for All Points Disposals, and they're looking for a driver.
Prince George.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, I might as well try it, right? Yeah. And I got on with, Rose and Sean Kilm, and they gave me that opportunity, and I'm sure they kind of knew who I was a little bit, but they gave me an opportunity to drive, to learn in the waste disposal industry. So I'm like, okay. So I started driving roll off and front load around there for about a month and a half, and then they sold their business to Waste Management, and that's where that's where I was like, oh, okay, well,
that was 2018 that you got the job. Yeah. And then with the company that was doing waste management, and then from there, and then they sold to a larger company.
All Points did,
waste sold management.
To a Fortune 500 company, Waste Management. Yeah. Right? And I was like, well, they're not going to accept me, right? No. But one day at a time. Yeah. That's how I live, and just kept following directions, and I ended up they flew me down to Vancouver, accepted me, and just to fast forward, I've never looked back. But Waste Management has been a foundation for me since day one. Yeah. To the Creator putting me at the right place at the right time, and a new opportunity. So
how many years now, Wes?
Clean and Silver? Yeah. September 6th will be 5 years.
5 years. Yeah. How long was Waste Management?
4.5.
4.5 years. Yeah. And for a guest, I consider Wes a close friend, but for a number of reasons we'll talk about a little bit more. But and I see him around town, although I'm busy, he's busy, and so like this morning at probably around 7 o'clock or so, maybe even before 7. So I'm pulling into Starbucks in Prince George and on the bypass in 15th. and then I see the bassist truck, and I already, oh, there's Wes. So I'm kind of waiting. I'm just ordering, and there he is, and he comes running over, and we say, hi, hello, how are you doing? And then from there, and then Wes does his thing, but he ran into the store and say, buy him I buy the coffee.
Yes.
You know? So that was, and then obviously we talked about at 3 o'clock we had the podcast, which we are doing right now.
Yeah.
So the other thing that that's an amazing thing if kind of looking back because of PTSD, coming out of the environment that has been so much of a challenge a lot of times in First Nations, because of things that happened that likely should not have happened, but they did, and it is so destructive to a lot of individuals, and for no particular reason other than trying to work their way through drugs, alcohol, and PTSD, and to recover, then come from that, and then start building a career like you already have. Is the other thing I like about Wes is that you have to tell me more. Wes and Ivan, his close friend, we'll talk about Ivan a little bit more too, have been drumming for a long, long time in the Prince George area, and during COVID, and it started all, I believe, of COVID, where every Monday evening they go to the hospital and drum in support of those that give their commitment and their service to keeping people healthy, even during the most difficult times. Yeah. Talk about drumming a little bit, and then in particular about the hospital. You've been doing that now for 30 months.
Yeah, if that's the calculation, definitely the 47 days straight. March 26, 2020, I got out and started drumming for about a week. Other people started joining in, and that's when Ivan came down and joined, joined the drumming for the healthcare workers at that time, right? And as each wave went through,
thanks for your service.
Yes, definitely. The whole world shut down.
Yeah.
You could hear a pin drop, right?
Yeah.
But people wanted, we knew there was quarantines going on. We knew people would be going to a hospital. So we were going to the Prince George, our UHNBC hospital there, and we wanted to support these healthcare, and then now they're healthcare heroes because they had to go to work every day.
Exactly.
Either short staff, short PPE, not knowing what they're walking into, having to go home to their families, and we wanted to be down there outside, and of course a safe distance, with masks on at sometimes and back to them off, and whatever, following the health guidelines. We did our best to bring comfort and love by smudging, drumming, praying, showing comfort and love to families that were, sometimes they couldn't be inside with their members, either through on our Facebook or FaceTime. They would have to talk to each other, but we were there.
But the other thing that you do, you're being supportive not only of the workers, but also I remember a couple of times that I was there, you recognize people that are patients struggling, and their family members that cannot visit them are then part of the circle, and so it's a very, very interactive, amazing, really, that circle.
Very heavy on the emotions. Just for what I've gone through before to come into this stage, being outside a hospital, supporting family members to the best of our ability, because all they have in their mind is a bunch of healthcare workers PPP'd up to the tilt, their family member laying in a bed, tubes going in them, as their oxygen levels go down, they don't know if they're going to come back up, and a lot of the times they didn't, they passed on, right?
Yeah.
So, we have social care workers, healthcare workers inside, any of the staff inside.
A lot of pain.
Just the only ones that can be with these people.
Yeah.
And the numbers were daily, just people passing on, right?
Yeah.
And family members outside. So what we wanted to do is be that second comfort of, like, as a first responders, be like second responders outside for everybody in a spiritual way, in a cultural way, but with everybody and anybody included. Of course, that traditional drum was the main remedy, because they could hear. it's something that we could all connect with,
Yeah.
and is a very, it brings in the ancestors, and it's very sacred, and the songs are prayers in itself, right? So
Tell us more about the drummer in Wes and Ivan and others. It's so much part of the culture of the Aboriginal communities and the indigenous people that drumming brings them together. It's so critical. Tell us a bit more about it.
It's sacred. The drum is very sacred. It's been around for thousands of years, used for ceremony, but used for healing. And in my own journey, it's been a healer. And then to come fast forward to what we're doing outside, we're healing others, right? So that drum, and a living organism at one time, an animal and a tree brought together to bring peace and unity. And as soon as you start drumming, people come, no matter what. If I'm drumming at the hospital or down at the Central Interior Native Health Society, people come right away.
Or the city hall.
And their eyes glow.
Or the university.
Their eyes glow. They're just interested.
I've seen it.
Yeah, whether they're around you or within you, and we grab them and bring them in. It's just, it's a way to, in a time in a pandemic where everybody was told to isolate, be away from everybody, even your family members, even your spouses. Husband and wives couldn't be around each other if one of them got it. We were there, and we could bring people together.
And there are other things that are being done. I remember being there, and then as part of the culture is, the feathers that are very sacred, and then the other one is the smoke, and where you raise that over somebody's body, and so it's a
cleansing.
Smudging. There is a lot to this in terms of the culture, thousands and thousands of years old, and as part of the history, rich history.
You'll see as you do it with the feathered honor, the eagle feather is an honor, but they use it to brush. And I learned that at the treatment center as well. I got brushed, and it was an amazing feeling by Gary Patsy. But so we're doing it there. We're not doing too much of the actual brush ceremony, but we're smudging, which is like a cleansing of the mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
And we can also stand there with the smudge like this and hold the feather up, and people grab it. It's like cleaning yourself, You're cleaning your. And then the smoke goes up, and it's like prayers.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Now the other thing is, you've been very involved in the cancer clinic and all the things around that, but not only limited to that, but you're very, very involved in the community. Everybody knows Wes. A lot of times you're with your friend Ivan, and so you're just so much part of this community. And tell us a little bit more about that.
Intertwined with getting my culture back, huge. And then I'd mentioned the 12 steps, and when you do the 12 steps, you're supposed to do service work, and you're supposed to help others. So when I started volunteering, and it even came back to when I first picked up a drum in 2015, before I got clean. So when I first picked up a drum, I volunteered, and that's how the drum got into my hand. So now going back into, as soon as I got clean for what I'm doing right now, and in some steady clean time, I volunteer. I became part of the Wheeling Warriors of the North for the past 4 years now. As a team, we've raised since they've started in 2012, over $1 million. But in my stint in the 4 years, almost $17,000 raised for BC Cancer. And I'm honored to say that because I have the DeWitt tattoo right here. And they've all passed on of cancer, my mom's brothers and sisters. So that's why that's part of my life, is to give back and also pay it forward for whatever may happen next, not only for my family, but for other families. And then there's the Prince George Spruce Kings. I volunteered as a first aid attendant with them for the past 4 years. Amazing time, as they've won a Fred Doyle Cup, and they went almost all the way to Western Canada, winning the cup for against the Bandits. So, but these are all things I've given my time, because in my past, in those 20 years, yes, I was up and down and rose, but when I was really down, I made some bad decisions and did some bad things, like some of the people do, right, against the law, right? So I want to pay it back, and I want to also keep myself busy and intertwined and do things in a humble, honest way. Right? Pay it forward, whatever you may call it. Volunteering is huge for me. It keeps me busy, and that's where you meet good people. You're going to network to the best people in the world, because that's who volunteers. And once I got a taste of that volunteering, it just, and with an addictive nature in the past, that's kind of where it comes into, where what I used to put into my addiction, I want to put into my community now.
Exactly.
And I go hard with the community, and I do it because I have a huge heart, and I love people, and it makes me a better person. It makes me feel feel better, and I love seeing people smile.
Yeah.
You know, I love eventually, you know, once in a while sneaking a free coffee to them or
Yeah.
or whatever. These things are
Yeah.
just how I'm actually built.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it makes me that much more of a, you know, part of this community, a better person in the community.
Now, the other part about it that you talk about and that you know about is that, you know, we have so many people living on the streets, even here, you know, that are having challenges. You know, they have done more and more housing and all those kind of approaches, but I sometimes feel we're not giving them what they require in terms of not giving them, but helping them. How do they break the cycle? Because you were there for nearly 20 years, and you know, and a lot of people, you know, well, make it go away is not an answer, obviously, because that's not what it is. But more can we do as a community? I'm not talking about Prince George. I'm talking about East Vancouver, Prince George to a certain extent, other communities. But what can we do from somebody that has gone through challenges like that, and proportionally, a lot of times, it affects people from First Nations. What can we do? And I'm not trying to be critical of anybody that is not doing that today or should be doing that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm simply talking to you as somebody that has been there and saying, what can we do that we could do better?
Looking for solutions, looking for better,
exactly.
our new ways.
Exactly.
What we can do is number one is show love. Always show love. That is number one. And of course, you're going to need these systems. You're going to need these funds. You're going to need detox centers. You're going to need treatment centers. And those are all fine and dandy and good. But what we need is, you know, and what we need is the Moccasin Flats is a good spot. So the ones that don't want to go to these new complex care places, our housings or the Nights Inns, you know, there's people that will go there. But there is the eventual ones that either have the mental health or other issues that can't be in those places. So Moccasin Flats is great, and we have gardens setting up there, but what needs to be done is a little more sanitation for them, like waste disposal, showers, and laundry facilities and bathrooms. That's just a simple necessity that needs to be done. But then the biggest solution that needs to be done is people that have got, like, say, over 2 years, maybe 2 years plus, and that's just throwing it out there. As outreach workers. We need these outreach workers that are out there, that have been there before. Of course, you have your university ones, psychology ones, and they help. They need to work with the people that have been through it, and we need to be put out there together and you know, work with the RCMP, work with the bylaw officers, and then go with them to help resolve to the best of our ability to get these people, you know, not filling up the Third Avenues with tents and stuff, but filling up certain areas where they can feel safe, still have their stuff safe, and feel like a human being and do what they need to do as a human. But we need that done. But the biggest thing is, and for me, I had to go to Kitwanga and find about my nations. What we need is healing centers, and we need people from the nations. Like I would say I'm back on the streets here in Prince George, back to where I was before. What we need is we need outreach workers from the nations to come to the city, grab their loved ones and bring them home to a facility that might be built at home as well, and give them that culture, give them that love, give them those 12 steps and whatever meetings they might need. But they need to be home, you know, and it becomes a problem for the city here, right? And the city they can do a certain amount, but we need everybody involved to do that, and we need to bring them home. They need to go home, and they need to not be, you know, and that's a fact. Yeah. And being on the streets is one way, but up in the jails is another place. You go up there and it's just incarcerated again, 70 to 80% people. So it has to happen maybe in all these different areas. And I do know people that go up there, up to the jail and help, but it's pretty strict up there. And to get help up because I've been incarcerated before, to get at certain times to get any help up there, you have to be a long-term person that's up there for a long time to even get into places at the jail, right? So just kind of got off the left field there. But what needs to be done is they need to go home. That love, the culture, and
is at home.
And home,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and there's and just with maybe the resources and the help isn't there at home, but I think it's getting better. I feel it's getting
because
better.
I look at you, like kind of giving us the privilege of taking you through the steps. How the challenges that you encountered, PTSD obviously, and somewhat dysfunctional families and challenges, with being, in different places that was home, but not understanding in a lot of cases, as you said, that big black hole, and until you can reconcile it, you can then start addressing the issues. What is Wes going to do from here on forward? Because what you were doing in Vancouver only would have one solution or one conclusion unless you said, I got to get out of here. Yeah. And because the other option would be not a good one. You wouldn't have survived it. And, what can we do more to help, people to go home, get that support, help them in those areas, rather than, just building houses alone will not do it, but there must be,
it's helping, especially
helps.
when you're up in the north and winter comes.
Yeah.
That was huge last year before we had Moccasin Flats and people were starting fires out there and barely, people we thought would freeze, but we're getting more here in the north.
Yeah.
And with our weather up here, you need that. You got your heat domes in the summer, and then you got your cold winters, right? So the ones that are not wanting to go into a home or a safer spot and that want to live out in the streets, we have to do something for them. And Moccasin Flats is great.
Yeah.
Maybe fire pits there. It's very. And each person is different, right? Like I can sit here and say that, but it might be different for somebody else. But that's what worked for me. I had a mother that cared about me very, very much.
Yeah.
And, she never gave up on me.
Yeah.
And that family love. And that's what I kind of meant by even the nations. We need to become one tribe. One tribe, y'all. And get it going. Not only with the nations, but we need the indigenous, non-indigenous, the immigrants. We need everybody, settlers, to work together on that solution.
Yeah.
Because we're in a country that's very beautiful, and we can do that, right? I think
best place in the world.
That's right. Number one, Canada, right? So
there's no other place like it anywhere around the world, and the rest of the world have challenges as well, different maybe, and in some cases the same. But to have a country like we have, Canada, in particular BC, is amazing. And
then there's the drug toxicity right now. It's crazy. People are dropping 6 to 7 people a day. There's so much within our system that needs to just either open up and be free, or and not really control it, but have a safe drug supply. And then have them, because when they're out there getting these toxic drugs, they're not only dying, they're getting drugs that are put in their body that make them even more, delusional, and like the stuff that's being put in there is making them just more crazy.
Sometimes I think,
and I can relate.
Yeah, I think, Wes, is that it should not be controlled, because by controlling it, you have all the bad stuff coming in, and people. It should be. That's just my view. If somebody wants to use it, it should be readily available and hopefully safe.
And safe. That's exactly what I'm saying.
And that is the critical part.
That's right.
And if it is not allowed to be, or you can't have it, that then opens the door for criminal conduct, and whatever they put on the street is deadly.
You're getting these sideshow chemists or whatever trying to put whatever they can together within. Crystal meth is one of them that they do in their bathtub, and people don't know what they're smoking, what they're sticking in their veins.
Scary, right?
It's horrible. I've heard of horrible stories that they mix it with feces and stuff and sell it to people.
Scary.
Yeah, like it's actually dope, but it's mixed with others, obviously, like the fentanyl.
Not good.
Just crap. Absolute crap, right?
I say decriminalize it, so in my view, but maybe that's a simple solution too. But I know what we have today doesn't work.
As society, I'm not saying that we need to accept it 100%, but when we have that little level of acceptance and that safety, the people aren't going to be as crazy. Maybe they're going to be a little more comfortable, and they won't be stuck at a Moccasin Flats. Maybe they'll have that little extra level to go to a complex care unit where they're going to have elders there, they're going to have support workers, and then there's that process. They get a little more opportunity at a better life. And obviously get off the drugs, right? But it's no simple task. It's a disease. I talk with my mom a lot, and we've been to funerals of friends of mine that have passed on because of it. And it's 2 to 5%. It's very rare that 2 to 5% people that get out of the situations that I am in get out. And with what we've just talked about, we can make that percent go up to 10%. We can make it go up to 20%. But it's got to be done in a safe way, and that's the best way I can say it.
A little more I want to talk to you about is that your friend, not every time, but most of the time that I see you with Ivan in settings, because the two of you are close, and Ivan is also an amazing individual. I remember we had the Clayton H&A Park. I think we had 2 events last year, and we had the privilege of helping out and donating the orange shirts, and
that was beautiful.
But you guys were so active there, putting this all together and getting all the support. There were a lot of people.
2021 was a year of ups and downs, and nobody could do events, and nobody wanted to do events, and there was a lot of risk in it. But it was the 215 Rising we did at Clayton H&A Park, and then a little shortly after that we did National Indigenous Day, which when you got the shirts, and then Canada Day did more shirts, a Sea of Orange, and then we did the first
I think $5,000 worth of shirts.
Reconciliation. Amazing.
Everybody was wearing
Sea of
orange.
And with the Rising of the 215, with what's going on, there wasn't a better time for obviously what you did is amazing, but to share that awareness of truth and reconciliation, to share the orange short story, to share just all about what was being brought up for the Every Child Matters, but not only within those two, but the Canada Day was huge, because a lot of people were, and we just said Canada's number one, and I love Canada no matter what. This is beautiful, right? And we wanted to make sure that as what we were doing at the hospital, what we did as cultural Indigenous men, that we wanted people to respect Canada Day. Yes, we had the Sea of Orange, and that was very beautiful. But I didn't really upside down flags and all that. I mean, yes, there's definitely needs to be accountability and that recognition of what happened, but at the same time, we're in a time where we need to be together, and that's what we did at the hospital, and that's what we did at our events, and that's what you and Scott contributed to. Just coming down, and the people that just the Indigenous non-people who were handing the shirts out, and they were gone like that. The first time they were gone so quick, I didn't know what happened, but it was amazing that we came back on Canada Day and shared as Canadians. The respect, the love, and the memory of what has happened with the 215 and so. But not only that, but respect Canada, because we're going through a pandemic, and we're going through it together as Canadians.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's where I say one tribe, y'all, again, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I like that. Recognition Indigenous Day was a very, very big event. And then Canada Day, obviously, that followed, and so as we go further, you're becoming more and more involved in different things in the community. You're more and more community oriented in all the things that you do. You work hard with base management, obviously doing your job, and then. Other than that, a lot of events that I go to, who are there, Bess and Ivan, in drumming. In fact, about a couple of weeks ago, you guys, came to, we released the book. I don't see it here offhand, but, ADHD Unlocked, and you came down together with Ivan, and you drummed extremely successful. You had more people all around in a circle. Everybody just loves it.
Yeah.
And and that.
And the key to these every event that we go to is we include everybody.
Yeah.
It's not just and don't get me wrong, to get up and perform is beautiful.
Yeah.
But what we want is for people to feel that drum. And so many people that have just very first time played the hand drum or the big powwow style drum.
Yeah.
They just love it, and the smiles on their faces.
Yeah.
And me and Ivan will kind of circulate the room as we drum and sing the songs and show love. People love attention.
They love it.
When I come up to you and I'm drumming and I give you the that, and they feel it, and they start you start mimicking and doing the same sounds or a warrior cry. It's amazing. And for me to be part of that and to have Ivan beside me and all the UHNBC Prince George Traditional Drummers deserve it, because they come out every Monday. They come out to every event to the best of their abilities. It's not just me and Ivan, it's all of us. But we love to lead, and we love to have the people beside us. And that's how it's done is together. Teamwork, unity, and then when you come into a room where you're in the penthouse, thanks to Craig for being at the penthouse for John Brink and his release of his ADHD book. What's such an honor, with a bunch of people that are your close friends and that I've seen are community heroes, leaders. It was a little, but we just did our thing, and we loved it. We had your nephew up on the big drum.
We did.
Keith, he loved it.
Yeah.
He came up to the following Monday. He came up and drummed with us.
And he loved going to visiting you guys as well, right?
So and that's just we only have one life, and there's so many beautiful people in it that we need to appreciate and share our similarities and share the love and share the crazy echoes is what I like to say, right?
Now the other thing that is happening as well is that in Prince George, every so often there are elections for city council in Prince George, and there have been some rumors that you've been kind of taking a look at something like that.
Yeah, I've done quite a few. My rise and falls, I had a lot, and then the past 5 years, I've really I love Prince George. Number one is I love Prince George.
I know you do.
Since '86, I haven't turned around, and I love it being here. And this year, with the 2022 elections for City Hall, for Mayor and City Council, Wesley Mitchell's going to take a good run at City Council.
So what I want to do is I want to be your first supporter to sign up on your document that you need to get support. I want to be the first one to do that. I'm going to do that while we are sitting here. So I have my pen ready.
I'm honored. This is beautiful, and what a beautiful moment. Of course, I brought my nominations here, and for you to be the first is an honor, and I respect that. And to the best of my ability, I will move forwards doing the best things for the city of Prince George as an ambassador and as a person. One day at a time, though. Thank you for the nominations, John.
I think you be somebody that has earned the respect, and to see somebody, especially with your background that is so broad, and then, that I think you would add that special talent to City Council. And so I will be the first one. I will sign it as we're sitting here. And Wes, thank you for being my guest.
I appreciate it.
And good luck.
And I'll be a voice for all people.
I know you will be. Yeah. Thanks, Wes.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
So I'm going to take that document.
Yeah. And we are officially on our route to nominations for the 2022 campaign. Wesley Mitchell campaign 2022 at gmail.com. Supported by Mr. John Brink.
Excellent. There you go.
I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation too.
Again,
very
success. And should I put it here?
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you for being my guest again.
Okay, let's
Thanks,
I was take one. Let's do take two.
Yeah.